haven't done a video quite like this before. I typically only review games that are out and don't tend to spend a lot of time on demos or betas, mainly because I already have a huge backlog of games and I want to focus on them. However, I was asked by the developer, Zoot Labs, to take a look at IdeaFix, a game that is currently in development and expected to release in 2025. So let's take a look at this demo and give you my thoughts on this experience. I'm going to largely look at the game the same way I would in a full review, only not giving it a final review score or anything like that, but just kind of giving my final thoughts in general about the demo. So let's start with the story. There wasn't much story to be found in a demo, which generally I would expect in a demo kind of like this. You're kind of introduced to this idea of a machine that you can't quite escape. And it seems interesting and maybe even a little bit on the horror themed side of things. For the demo though, it mainly feels like a setup and little else. There isn't really a whole lot of background given. It's just kind of there. Now this isn't a criticism or anything. It's just kind of hard to know from playing it whether there will be more story to the full game. It seems like it would be interesting to explore if there was, but I'm just not really sure how much to expect on this front. This machine seems to be following you and you can't escape it. And kind of in this process of admitting that you can't escape it, you wind up having to purchase it, which I didn't quite understand it. I would think that you purchasing it would kind of cause the machine to follow you around and not that it follows you around until you purchase it. So I'm not quite sure I understood that part of it. But once you do that, you find yourself inside of the machine and then you have to work to escape it. Now, it's really hard to know if we'll learn more or if this is just kind of an ominous mystery hovering over the actions you have to take in the game. The gameplay of IdeaFix is kind of an interesting combo of things. It feels like a bit of an escape room puzzle game mixed with some idle game or automation elements. Well, the demo gives you a bit of a tutorial on the basic actions you can take. Once you enter the machine, you're kind of thrown in without a lot of explanation. This seems to be a game that really wants you to experiment and learn how the various parts of the machine work without a lot of hand-holding. You do have a scanner that helps give you an idea of what the various machines do, but it doesn't tell you everything, and you do have to figure out how they need to be set up in order to work. The basic idea behind the game is to escape the machine. To do this, you have to earn a resource to help buy and upgrade the various machines that make up the larger machine. As you do this, it will gain resources quicker. While earning resources, you also have other things you have to keep track of, like power and pressure. Power is what keeps the machine running, and you don't want to run out of it or you can't really do anything. Pressure is a bit harder to understand in the game, but will be used by various machines to either earn resources or to open the door to the exit. While the game does throw you in without a lot of explanation about the various machines, I didn't really have too much trouble figuring out what everything did. I felt like some machines took a bit longer to figure out than others. Some were very easy, like the printer where you just had to push a button and it created the resource, but there were also machines that I couldn't quite figure out, like the rotor. This didn't hurt me too much as I was able to get through the demo without the need to understand it fully. There is much I found enjoyable in the game. It was fun to figure out the various machines. It was interesting to find the various floppy disks that would allow you to buy new machines, especially the codes you needed for the floppy disk machine. Those were always kind of an enjoyable mystery to try to find and get the codes to be able to get a new floppy disk and component to your machine. I also enjoyed the console you had to use to upgrade and buy your machines. I could see this feeling a bit more burdensome if there were lots of options, but for the demo and having only a few machines that you needed to buy or upgrade, it was fun and I felt like it worked well. There were a few things though that felt a bit off during my playthrough. The turning of valves and combination locks in the game didn't feel great. Valves felt slow and a pain to turn, while the combination locks would sometimes feel way too sensitive, making it hard to land on the number that you wanted. It is possible that these were designed that way to increase challenge and not make it easy or kind of make it feel more realistic in some ways, but they were probably my least favorite parts of the gameplay. The game can also be a bit monotonous at times. You have to keep the machine running, which means turning the crank on the generator regularly and also restarting any of the machines that stop running as well. While I didn't mind this entirely, and it does get better as you upgrade your machines, if that kind of gameplay bothers you, this probably won't be for you. And it's kind of a shame that I feel like this is really an issue more on the front end. Once you understand what the machines do and how to use them and things like that, I feel like the system becomes much smoother, but like as an entry, this kind of can get a little monotonous early on while you're still trying to figure everything out, so it could turn some people off. Overall though, I enjoyed the gameplay here. I felt that it was a fun combination of puzzle and had the idle elements there that made it kind of fun to see how long it would actually take to buy all the things and get the final result that you wanted, which was escaping the machine. The art style goes for an older, low-res kind of look, which felt like a good choice for the atmosphere. It gave the game a little bit of a darker, oppressive edge, which seemed to fit the idea of this machine that you can't quite escape. While there really isn't much that might wow you due to this art style decision, I didn't really find anything that turned me off in the game either. This is definitely a game that felt like the art style was a choice and used well, and not a game that just doesn't look good. The sound direction is also very atmospheric. For the most part, you just hear the churning of the machine as it runs. As you start to get used to the machine, you'll learn to associate certain little noises with a certain machine breaking down, which felt like a nice little touch. You know, you'd hear a noise and be like, oh, that's this machine, I think I've heard that before, and that's when this one doesn't work anymore. And sure enough, like, you start to kind of associate the various little noises, and I thought that was well done. There is even a little tape player that you can use to play some fun little tunes off and on while working, which was a nice little thing. Nothing amazing, but neat. Now, overall, I don't know that there is anything that will wow you here in terms of sound, just like with the art style. But again, it all felt put together with a purpose and works together well. The machine feels like it is meant to be the majority of the sound you hear. I mean, after all, you can't escape it and are trying to. So it kind of makes sense that kind of takes up most of the audio and, well, the art style really of the game. Ideafix is an intriguing game. The demo took me a little under an hour and a half to complete, and overall I would say that I had a positive experience with it. I found it an enjoyable and atmospheric puzzle game. I did have some minor things that I didn't enjoy as much, but the good far outweighed the bad. I don't necessarily see this as being a game that has widespread appeal, but for those who like atmospheric puzzle games with some automation and idle aspects involved, it could be worth taking a look. At very least, I would say download the demo and see what you think. Assuming the demo is a good representation of what the full game will be, it'll let you know if you like it or not. It's maybe not a game that would be high on my list, but one I could see getting for a smaller indie game for in between larger releases. It's just that kind of game that would be kind of a good, fun, different sort of game that would break you free of some of the monotony that can kind of be in some of the AAA longer games that are out there. So that's my thoughts on Ideafix, and yeah, I don't know how many videos like this I will do. I tend to still like doing more full game reviews because it's better to get a good sense of what the full game is after you've played a full thing, but every once in a while I may do something like this where I look at a demo or look at a beta of a game and give my thoughts. But that's all for this one, so I'll see you in the next video.